करना तलवार की धार पर चलने के बराबर होता है। और इनका काम इतना अच्छा रहा कि इनकी पॉलिसी, इनके व्यक्तिगत विरोध को कोई कभी कर भी नहीं सका, पर इनकी पॉलिसी के बारे में विरोधी पक्ष तो हर विषय पर बोलता है। इनकी एक ही पॉलिसी पे आज तक किसी ने कोई विरोध नहीं किया। ये इनकी सबसे बड़ी सक्सेस का व्यक्तिगत बात में जरूर कहने को अपना आपको रोक नहीं पा रहा हूँ। मैंने पहली बार राजनीति में ऐसा देखा कि इनसे कहा गया कि आप चुनाव लड़े, और इन्होंने इसलिए चुनाव नहीं लड़ा, जहां से चुनाव लड़ती वो जरूर जीतती, पर इन्होंने इसलिए चुनाव नहीं लड़ा था तो इन्होंने अपने बैंक के अकाउंट में कोई पैसा जमा किया था, न इनको किसी से पैसा लेना था। इतनी ऑनेस्ट फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर बिजनेसमैन हो, आपने कहा, इसलिए सार्वजनिक रूप से स्वीकार करना चाहता हूँ कि अब तो न तो ये डर लगता है कि पैसा कहां से आएगा, न इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट का लगता है डर, और वो सब केवल आपके कारण। माननीय निर्मला सीतारमण जी, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Viksit Bharat, 15 lakh stakeholders were involved, and it is not new. We are a superpower. How we can all contribute together, each and everybody here and listening to us, to make India a superpower number one. In values, we are always number one. Ancient wisdom with us, and economically maybe number two. Number three, what people are talking about, number 5. Your inspiration can guide each of us to get mightier and mightier together without much downside, as you very, very clearly explained, whether fintech, whether digital, global
engagement and sharing of thoughts constantly with government is absolutely required. So I would appeal to all of you that engage with the government in small groups or big, in sectoral groups or otherwise. We need to have thoughts which are coming in so that government also can be responsive, and that is where the collective synergy can come.
Madam, we are all grateful for you. All of you on www.solutions.com to bring thousands of think tanks together. Thank you so much.
So why are dividends taxed in the hand of the investor? Like, put your invest in our holding. So this is actually a detriment. So if you are removing the dividend tax at the hand of investors, I think it will be supported for us to hold equities for the long term. So I just wanted your views on it.
I will take your concern on board. Let's see what we can do.
Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am. My simple question is, if you get a chance in your third term as finance minister, what would be your roadmap to become India as a third largest economy?
You know, it's very difficult to answer a question which starts with if you. Yes, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Neha Shah, founder director of My Board, and it's a pleasure to meet you again here at BSC. My question is, SEBI has mandated NISM certification for at least one key personnel at the AIF Managers Investment Team, and you recently mentioned much about the corporate governance. So considering the importance of governance in ensuring the stability and the success of startups, how is it that the government is coming up with those schemes or with those initiatives on corporate governance?
SEBI is come up with, is what you said.
Yes, ma'am.
SEBI is not the government, it's a regulator.
Yes, ma'am. They are the regulators, yes. Next.
सबका साथ सबका विकास what you have said right now. So if you bring more retailers, as you have pointed out, more retailers and more saving, if the income tax slab is reshuffled, so more saving will be done and more retail investor will come.
All right, suggestion taken.
Hello ma'am, this is Dharan Shah. I'm from Wealth Management. I had an interesting question, ma'am, that are rupees depreciating in a consistent way, which is not allowing us to attract NRI funds into India. So, as we've seen in the past, the rupee has depreciated approximately 4.5 to 6% on an annualized basis. What do you give direction in the coming 10 years? How will the rupee be
When you talk of depreciation against the dollar,
against the dollar? Yes, against the dollar.
I think it's been very closely monitored by the Reserve Bank, currency fluctuations and so on. So, this is something on which I've repeatedly said it because I strongly believe data tells us that, people observe that, so I repeat. Not just Indian rupee, look at what has happened to the yen, the Japanese yen. To talk on Viksit Bharat and what it is going to take for all of us in the name of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas and Sabka Vishwas with Sabka Prayas. Broadly highlight some of the thoughts that which is going to be relevant for the financial markets. Thank you for China and also M&A Minister Lodaji for having given me that, and it is of a great honor that I can see this good big gathering of a composite audience, women, young, the youth and also professionals and the media. I'm conscious, superly conscious about the fact that I'm standing in BSc, which as was nicely described, is going to enter into its 150th year. It's Asia's oldest stock exchange and also the 10th oldest in the world. It's also the 10th largest stock market and probably the 4th largest in equities, only after the US was started. The contribution, therefore, during some of the most challenging times, which led to a lot more systematic and systemic regulatory frameworks, have all been because of the positive contribution the Bombay Stock Exchange has made. So, in India today, where investment is government's strategy at the macro level, that is, combined with an all-inclusive growth, which will have an element of welfare, more from the point of view of empowering the poor, not so much from the point of view of entitlement for any section. So you empower the poor, you give them the basic requirements which are civic requirements, and automatically the aspirations will get served because there is access to many of the things that they would want: opportunities, skilling, education, finance, credit, and so on. So this government's route in which policies for greater FDI flow, policies for greater openness and transparency with a lot of technology infusion, whether it is in the markets or whether it is in the institutions such as banks, technology and adapting it so that it becomes easy for common citizens to perform their daily chores. Compliance has become easy for enterprises, governance, and above all, functioning efficiency is improved for markets. And for that, from among the more traditional 4 factors of production, I would think 5th is the technology, but that can remain where it is. But among the factors of production, capital has always had a great emphasis, because land can remain where it is, labor can remain where it is, enterprise can be devoid of any spirit if there is no talent. And therefore capital is, from among the traditional forms of production, are all infused with capital. You're just not going to have that efficiency and production happening to the extent that we would want. And therefore, financial markets play a very, very crucial role, and for not just capital mobilization but also for capital allocation, the seamless way in which capital flows into places from where productivity can improve is very important. And therefore, for markets to play a big role, for markets to make that critical edge difference to the growing economy, I get to talking what is important in this election atmosphere. Stability of government is the first criteria for markets to be efficient. Stability of government, stability of policy, particularly of taxation policy, and predictability in which everything comes in terms of when it is getting introduced, when it is getting executed, and above all, a soft-touched regulatory framework. These are the high points with which markets become efficient, markets function without volatility. Earlier there used to be a poverty index, earlier there used to be a human development index, all of them continue. But today what is keenly watched is the VIX, volatility index of the markets. And therefore, standing in BSE, I want to very clearly
Exchange is probably the most popular finance minister we have ever had. And I'm so glad to say with pride that Nirmala Sitharaman ji is somebody who has risen from the ranks, is a competent woman, and obviously testimony to her popularity is the fact that it is a Tuesday afternoon, 3:51, and look at our Mumbai here. This is, ma'am, an organic audience that absolutely looks up to the policy decisions that Prime Minister Modi and Nirmala ji have taken in tandem. And let me please tell you, I'd like to thank Sundarji and the entire team, Kalpit, Ji, the entire ma'am sitting here. I'd like to thank popular MLA of Malabar Hill and of course a minister who is also present here. And I'd like to thank this audience, and I'm going to break rules and say please let the audience even move forward and take these empty seats here, because this is going to be an action-packed interaction. Part of Vishesh Sampark is that we as a party could sit on our high horses and say we don't want to exchange, we don't want to hear, we don't want to interact. We have chosen to do just the opposite. We have chosen to reach out to every segment of society. Yesterday we had Jai Shahji, today in the days to come we have lots of leaders coming in to exchange ideas with different NGOs, doctors, lawyers. Yesterday National Stock Exchange, today Bombay Stock Exchange, and it goes forward. Our Prime Minister, as he says, 2047 and a Viksit Bharat is a dream, but a dream to be realized by every strata of society. And today we have limited those to 4 vote banks. One is obviously the poor, second is the women, third is the youth, and I see a lot of youth here, so I'm so happy to see your positive participation, and the fourth is the farmer. I'm not going to take much time, but I'm clearly going to say that, when we come into public life, we look at few people as role models. And as a woman in public life, I think there can be no better role model than Nirmala Sitharaman ji. I would request you to please greet her with a huge round of applause, because